computer. All right. So when we're talking about being super patient and super slow to make sure you're doing it properly, is when I get into my golf posture and I load the weight on the ball of my right foot, I can have my weight go forward, and that puts my weight on the ball of my right foot. And when I have a one hand lower on the club, I have a little bit of a spine tilt. And so now I'm have a tilted spine a little bit, not vertical, just slightly tilted. And if I was in good posture, like I was going to play shortstop or linebacker or defensive back, I've got my feet, knees, hips, glutes all activated with some really good stable base. And so the first move is I want to take and turn the shoulders, the top of the shoulders and the chest without moving any lower body movement. Now, right about here, I can start to feel tension, and so my hips want to turn. So I would practice this training motion over and over and over until it becomes really clear how to do the separation of the shoulders. Then as I continue, it wants to start turning my hips, which I'm going to allow it to, and it's going to bring in my left knee, which I'm going to allow it to. And then now I have a full shoulder turn with about a 45-degree hip turn, and my weight is still on my right foot, but my lower leg is not out here. So I'm staying inside this little barrel, and now I can train that over and over of how to do the separation of the shoulders first, and then add in the resistance of the hips, and the knee and the feet, and now I'm fully loaded. And I can feel all the muscles activated. Master that piece first. Because then we got to bring in the left arm. The left arm is going to elevate maybe 2 feet. On a finesse wedge, it may elevate 8 inches, 12 inches, and then distance wedges in the full swing. So the left arm is going to elevate, and it's going to elevate up, and then it's going to come across somewhere over on my right shoulder to my right ear. And so it's going to be on some type of angle, and the angle will be determined based on your body. So now this arm is not doing this, standing across my chest. It's simply elevating up and down on an angle, probably about a 45-degree angle. And so now if I'm in golf posture, and I can take my right hand and put over my left wrist, and I can get back and do that last drill I just did, where I turn my shoulders super slow with resisting my hips, and now I start to feel the resistance. So just by keeping my left arm fully extended in what we call later in the training power packages, this triangle with my left arm fully extended, and if I just turn my shoulders, it brings my arm automatically to this position. And so it probably raised my arm a little bit without me trying to raise it. The shoulders raised it. Now from here, I'm going to elevate my left arm at the same time that I finish my shoulder turn. There's a 9 o'clock distance wedge swing, and then there's the full swing. Notice how my head stayed on my right knee, and this is a full swing. And this is why we train it this way separately, so we don't get into doing this and lifting up. So the left arm simply elevates 1 and 2 feet throughout the swing, and then comes over maybe to the right shoulder. So this is all the left arm does in the swing, but since the shoulders are turning, it looks like that. And the left arm by itself is inert, and so it becomes heavy, and so we use the hand later in the training to help elevate the club, to feel what it feels like, to feel what it looks like. What's the right arm do? The right arm, and this is how we add on a lot of speed and power, because if I bend my right wrist and then I turn my shoulder, watch what happens when I bend my right wrist Now, the right wrist is never going to cock around cock. It only bends and arches. It bends and arches and it turns and rolls. So the right wrist, we're going to bend it, and I'm going to do slowly that shoulder turn that we just trained. There. So I start to feel resistance in my hips. My elbows still back, my triceps connected to my rib cage. And so that's what the right arm does. So you can see the right arm slightly bent, and it's slightly externally rotated. So the hands can turn and roll. So they're going to externally rotate and bend. So now if I add this together, bent wrist, shoulder turn automatically bends the elbow. Now, why does it automatically bend the elbow? Because if my arm stays connected to my rib cage, it has to bend. If my arm stays away from my rib cage, it can straighten out.
Right.
So now from this view here, getting back to just taking the shaft across my chest, I want to turn my shoulders. And really the motion is just like this. I'm going to just turn. Elbows are here. I'm just going to turn my shoulders. I was going to turn this way and shake your hand. But now we want to do that without the hips moving. And so this is about as far as I can go without the hips moving, is right about, if I take my shoulders here, I get to right there before the hips want to start to move, which is about 45 degrees. So if I get to 45 degrees with a bent wrist and turn my shoulders 45 degrees slowly, there I am ready to go. So now, if I cock my left wrist, that puts the club shaft parallel to the ground. I bend my right wrist, that puts it 45 degrees parallel to the ground, and I slowly turn my shoulder. My left arm is going to elevate by itself to there, and if I need more for a bigger finesse wedge shot or a distance wedge shot, I continue the shoulder turn and elevate my arm. And so I can stop right there about 8 o'clock. 9 o'clock, full swing. So that's how important it is for you to slowly and diligently and patiently learn how to get your feet dug in the ground, activate your calves, your knees, your quads, your hamstrings, your glutes. And now, since my right hand's lower on the shaft, I get the spine tilt. And now I'm stuck here in this little bubble, and I'm not doing any of this stuff. So there is going to be a hip slide on the downswing, but on the backstroke, that's what it looks like. So this is all I'm doing here is my hips are turning 45 degrees, and my shoulders are turning 90 degrees. And then I would do that hip slide at the same time that I bring down my elbow, and I would go slide, rotate the left shoulder up, and then finish the rotation. So I would, and this is really just focusing on the backstroke. So now if well, let's go back to the left arm elevation. So the left arm is going to elevate on an angle, about a 45-degree angle or less. And so now, if I know that my right arm is going to slightly bend, all I have to do is hang all posture, elevate. So get in the habit of practicing this motion here at the same time turning. And you want to be careful that your arms aren't, you want to be careful that you're not doing this. This is why it's so important to learn how to do this first and keep the arm connected to the chest and allow that arm to stay angled in versus angled out. And you'll see here from this view, you can see there's an angle inward versus hanging straight down versus being hanging down. So since my chest being bent down is more towards this way, and my arms are glued to my chest, that's why you're gonna see the arms angled towards the chest. And so now here I am, and I didn't do any hand motion here. So I'm just gonna bring the clap up here. I'm just gonna turn my shoulders. And you can see that there's no hand motion. This is all done by me turning the torso in this power package. So if I have my hands out here like this and I turn my shoulders, if I have my hands down here and turn the shoulders, so you can have your hands up here and turn the shoulders, or bring it all the way down and turn the shoulders. The arms are gonna go wherever they're located, and they're located at the back of my tricep, inside of my bicep, on top of my pectoral muscles for training purposes. These dimples are pointing to the sky. My hands are back flat. And then so that's what I'll work on this week.